What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. As we jump into our Indie Comics weekend, we are starting off with Once and Future issue number 6, with our story last leaving off with Duncan trying to rescue Gran. Most recently, we saw Bridget shoot herself. She did this in an effort to recreate a Fisher King. This had given Duncan the opportunity to go into Otherworld, to grab the Grail and stop Arthur from being able to take over all of the islands. With Bridget tricking Duncan, making him believe that the Grail would bring her back, that it would save her life. Now he finds himself trying to get back to Otherworld, and he is called upon the Ladies of the Lake to give him a weapon, to give him Excalibur. Now, be sure to like this video, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, and with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright gang, so as we dive into this issue, we have Gran and Duncan making their way into Otherworld. With the candle being lit, Duncan taking Gran and putting her over his shoulder. The two of them make their way into this mystical realm. While he may not know exactly where to go, seeing a castle off in the distance, he knows that this is more than likely the location that he needs to be at. Making his way there inside, we have Arthur, we have Elaine, and we have Galahad. Most recently learning that Elaine is the mother of Galahad and Duncan, the daughter of Bridget aka Gran. Right now, they are standing in front of Arthur, letting him know that they have failed, that they were unable to get the Grail, and so now they look for another route. They look for another way to get that Grail. That is when Duncan shows up with Gran slung over his shoulder. Laying her down on the ground, he looks over at his mother, calling her by that name. At first, this puts her at pause, but then she says that she is not, that she cannot be, because she is Galahad's mother. She is playing into this role. She is playing her part of this story. Duncan not saying much, but saying, you know what, fine. With Arthur sending his horde of undead after Duncan, he pulls up Excalibur and he slices away. One by one, the horde is slowly diminished. That is when Arthur tells them to stop. That sword is a dark wonder, a weapon that could truly cleave the flesh of Saxon men. Asking where he found such a blade, Duncan is a little bit confused that Arthur doesn't know Excalibur. But right now, Arthur is so mixed up. All sorts of things are just out of place. Now, Arthur truly wants this blade, saying that he will give up the belt that will heal his grandmother if he is willing to trade. But Duncan lets him know that this is not a sword that he can just trade away, that he promised to return this blade and he has to keep good on it. But what they will do is let Arthur know exactly where they got the blade. While Elaine says not to trust her, Arthur, on the other hand, he has a different point of view. They came to Arthur's castle. They have no power here, and they have yet to fail him. And so he gives up the belt. Giving the belt to Gran, she puts it on, and almost instantly, its magic is able to heal her. This is when Gran, she really starts to stir the pot, saying, I bet you don't even know why Galahad is the greatest knight. While Elaine would love to hear her silenced, Arthur wants to know what she is going on about. Galahad is the greatest knight, and his father was the greatest knight before him. That knight being Lancelot. But Lancelot is also the individual that had coitus with your wife. With Arthur learning this information, he demands to know where the Frank is, turning to Elaine because she would be the one to know where this Lancelot is. Letting Galahad know that they need to get out of here, Galahad turns to his mother and says that he is the perfect knight, that he belongs in the court of Arthur. This is his destiny, and he will not be leaving. as Arthur goes to strike down Elaine. That is where Duncan steps in, with Gran letting Duncan know that he is out of his league. While that sword may be powerful, it may be impressive, you are no match for the likes of Arthur. And so Gran decides to make a distraction, grabbing that belt and throwing it out the window. That is when Arthur summons his army, summons his undead, and tells them to go on the hunt. But surrounding them, we see the entire castle. It begins to melt away. Duncan not really sure what is going on. Gran is not even sure what is happening. Her best assumption is that the story is changing, that the story is shifting into something else, because just a little bit of knowledge, it can change the story in such drastic ways. The two of them getting back to the portal, looking back at Elaine, also known as Mary prior to being Elaine. Bridget reaches out to her, tells her that you can come with us, that you can put all of this away. But Mary only sees Gran holding that gun. Knowing what she could do, she decides to run in the opposite direction, with Duncan grabbing hold of her and them getting out of Otherworld. She says that she wouldn't have shot Mary. Duncan a little bit unsure if that is actually true. Now that they have returned, Duncan goes to take that sword, he gives it back to the ladies of the lake. While Gran says that he could have kept the sword, he says it is something that he could not do. It may be something that Gran could do, but it is not in him to lie like this, to keep it away from them and use it for his own advantages. Thanking Rose for all of her help, Rose can't help but tell Bridget that she truly did do a number on him, but all he needs is time. He needs some time and eventually he will come around. As they go to put away all of their weapons in Gran's little stash out in the woods, the two of them having a quick conversation with Duncan saying he is not sure if he can do this any longer. But he's not talking about Otherworld or the family trade, if you will. He is talking about their relationship, about how Gran has lied so much for his entire life. As he goes to walk away, that is when the questing beast arrives. Coming in from behind him, going to try and end his life. Gran wastes no time throwing him the spear. He takes that spear and he throws it right into the mouth of this beast. Just like that, this beast has fallen down to the ground. The days of Duncan being scared, of being terrified, those days are long past. He is becoming the hero of this story, but he does have to ask, does this signify the end of the quest? Does this mean that it is all over? Have we finally ensured that Otherworld cannot return? While that question is being proposed, this is when we are taken to Otherworld. We are taken to Mary, to Elaine, as she makes her way through all of the chaos, running aimlessly, having no direction. That is when she runs into the wizard. He comes to let her know that the story no longer has use for Elaine, but Merlin may just have a use for her yet. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. You know, I'll say it time and time and time again. Kieran Gillen, Dan Mora, Tamara Bonvillain, they knock it out of the freaking park. This is such a good story. This issue will bring an end to the first story arc. And while Duncan thinks maybe this is over, maybe it has all finally come to an end, this is just the beginning of his story. This is just the beginning of the mythology. Now with Merlin coming into the picture, we are gonna see this story change in drastic ways. And it's not just gonna be Merlin. We are gonna have many other individuals from lore and mythology. They are gonna be showing their faces. They are gonna be utilized in very unique and awesome ways. I like this story because it is a really interesting way to take Arthurian lore and twist it into an awesome comic book, to connect it to reality, to make it seem like these stories have always existed, that there is some sliver of truth within inside of them, that Otherworld is a place that keeps all of this mythology, that keeps all of this lore. But knowing the true nature of it, it puts you and your world in danger. It's a very creative, a very unique, and just an awesome way to go about not only recreating Arthurian lore, but making a comic book that has surprises after every single turn, never knowing what is next to expect, never knowing what you might encounter. I, for one, am truly excited to see Duncan become the hero that he has always been meant to be. But let me know your thoughts, let me know your theories. If you would like to get caught up on everything going on with this story, go ahead, check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It is gonna get you completely caught up on everything going on with Once and Future. If you would like to support the channel, you can always do so by joining the channel membership. Much like Patreon, having 5 different tiers, from $1 to $50. From loyalty badges to getting free comics every single month. Not only does this help out the channel tremendously, but you are getting tons of perks in the process. Now, if you are unable to do this, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like this video, hit that notification bell, and with that being said, until the next breakdown.